Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:07, it's O'Connor and Company. And I missed this earlier in the program. People have alerted me on Elon Musk's X social media platform, Julie. I gotta clear something up with you in a moment. Coming up in 30 minutes, Cal Potter of Thrifty Travel will be joining us. And then 8:05, the chairman of the RNC, Michael Watley. I'm Larry O'Connor. That's the aforementioned Julie Gunlock. Julie, are you saying that I'm not allowed to point out that Kamala Harris got her start by having an illicit affair with Willie Brown when he was the mayor of San Francisco, she was 31 years his younger, and he opened up the door to multiple six-figure jobs for him because, in fact, as Megyn Kelly said, he got her two specific positions, and I would argue that I think there were way more positions involved than just those two.
Listen,
are you saying that we're not supposed to point that out?
Can I answer?
Yeah, please.
Okay. No, you're allowed to. I think it can, but I do think Kamala can be, defeated by talking about her record.
Oh, definitely.
Failures.
Definitely.
I just hope that I think some people only want to focus on that. And I think we really need to remind people that if you want to live in California, elect Kamala.
I'll use a scattershot attempt to point out all the reasons why she should not be the commander-in-chief and the head of the executive branch of our federal government. And the reason why I do like to point that out, though, and it's completely factual, and I'm not rhetorically extrapolating or embellishing the story at all. I'm from California, so it's like open secret. Right. The reason that I like to point it out as much as possible is it pisses all the right people off.
Oh, I know.
Oh, they get crazy when you point this out.
I know. And no, I wasn't saying that, but I do think that some people
good. Just want to make sure what the
that.
Rules are here.
Mm-hmm.
It's 7:09 now. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington, D.C., and he will be addressing Congress today. And it's an important time for him to do that. This used to be a time where the American government, through its legislative branch and through the guidance of its executive branch, would reassert our unity with one voice, proclaiming our complete and total foundational support of the state of Israel, especially when they are facing an existential threat. But Kamala Harris will not show up. Her constitutional role is to preside over the United States Senate, and in a joint session of Congress, that's exactly what she is supposed to do and be there representing that body.
Especially for someone as important as
Netanyahu. And instead, she's going to be doing a campaign event at a sorority in the Midwest. Let me paint the picture for you this way about how atrocious this is, and it is absolutely atrocious. There's now upwards to 50 members of Congress who are threatening to boycott this too. In the last 4 years, under Joe Biden's leadership on the international stage, two of our allies have faced invasion from a hostile neighbor. Two of our allies have faced bloody massacres at the hands of hostile neighbors infringing on their borders. And both of them have come to America to address these joint sessions of Congress. One of them was Ukraine, represented by Vladimir Zelensky, and he received a complete and total, full body massage from this administration and frankly, from leadership of both parties. Mm-hmm. Literally with Democrats waving the Ukraine flag on the floor of the House of Representatives. Which is not allowed. The other leader is being snubbed by one political party, including the de facto head of state, Kamala Harris.
And after this is after a bloody terrorist attack that targeted children and
which
women
continues to involve American hostages being held. And we share the exact same enemy here because the country that has threatened and bloodied and murdered members of the Israeli citizenry is also threatened to destroy us as the second great Satan on the planet. And they can't muster the ability to actually sit there and listen to the Prime Minister of Israel speak to them. And what is the key distinction between these two men and these two countries? The key distinction that I see is that Benjamin Netanyahu and the majority of people in Israel are Jewish. And, that doesn't go well. We've got political consultants and analysts on CNN right now literally speculating about how Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania probably won't be Kamala Harris's running mate because he's Jewish.
Yes.
That's where we are right now.
And where we are is the Democrat Party is anti-Semitic. There's no other way to spin this.
Or the beholden to anti-Semites is clearly.
I mean, let's not forget Kamala Harris's daughter fundraised for an organization that gives to Hamas. That's where we are. Mm-hmm. There should be no surprise that she was not only there to greet Netanyahu when he came off the plane. No one was there to greet him at a high level, and then that she's not going to preside over his speech before Congress Day. It's disgusting.
And the reason is because they want to win an election. They want to win an election, and they think, we keep hearing how Kamala Harris is this Gen Z meme that TikTok loves, right? Well, let's explain exactly who she's appealing to on TikTok. Here's an example.
On Wednesday, July 24th, several organizations, including Jewish Voice for Peace, Code Pink, and the Palestinian Youth Movement, are calling for a historic action.
We are gathering to surround the U.S. Capitol building, forming a people's red line against the United States' continuous participation in Israel's genocide against the Palestinians.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, invited by Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, will be at the U.S. Capitol on July 24th to urge Congress to support Israel's ongoing war against Hamas.
But we all know this isn't a war. It's a genocide.
That's your TikTok people that she's appealing to. By the way, Palestinian Youth Movement, I think, or Palestine Youth Movement, that's actually one of the organizations that's being investigated by multiple states' attorney general as having links to terrorist organizations overseas. A pro-Hamas protester in D.C. yesterday.
We just got here today. We got all week to be out here. We are going to be out here all week. We are following this thing.
Yeah, so there you go. They're going to be here all week. They're going to be shutting things down all throughout the capital city. In fact, yesterday they invaded the Cannon office building and did a sit-in. Hundreds of them did, all in protest of there's one Jewish state on this planet, and the leader of that one Jewish state is appearing right here in Washington, D.C., and they just can't take it. They can't take the fact that there's one Jewish state on this planet.
They can, and they also, again, it's worth reminding people that they are willing to abandon those hostages. They want this to go away. We talk a lot about memory holding. They want the assassination attempt to go away. They want the Biden kind of, his decline to go away. They want the hostages to go away. They want the American hostages to go away in particular. It's very depressing.
Yeah. If you're curious and wondering who we don't know a lot about Kamala Harris. Apparently, we're told that she's just a cultural phenomenon and what have you. Look at who not only supports her and will be able to push her because she needs their support, but at the same time, look at who she's willing to cater to. Look at who she is willing to kowtow to and acquiesce to so that she can gain power, because that's all she cares about right now is getting power. It's 7:15. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives. Steve Hirshhorn's in the Hadeed Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Yesterday on Capitol Hill, House Ways and Means Committee held a special hearing to figure out who's funding the anti-Semitic movement that we see. These very same protesters that shut down the Cannon office building yesterday that will be protesting all through Washington, they've had to erect an 8-foot fence around the Capitol building because they're concerned, rightly so, that the terrorists will do their terrorism here, because that's what happens when Benjamin Netanyahu's around and you've got terrorists. And you're going to find out, where's all this money coming from? Who paid for all those tents? Who paid for all the signs? Who paid for everything we saw on college campuses? So here's Chairman Jason Smith of the Ways and Means Committee yesterday kicking off the hearing, and there was an interesting highlight to who showed up yesterday and who didn't.
I apologize to the witnesses that not one of the Democrats have showed up today.
Wow.
This has been 2 committee hearings in the last 11 days that not one Democrat decided to come to work. I think it's pretty unacceptable, especially on a topic that is so important. Members of the Ways and Means Committee can weigh in on subcommittee hearings. And to think not one Democrat feels like it's important enough to set on that side to look about the 501c3 tax-exempt status and how money is flowing to terrorist organizations and to the Chinese is appalling and unacceptable. If you're paid to be a member of Congress, show up to work.
Well, unless you don't want to participate in an investigation of, your base and find out that the money is in fact
kind of sort of okay with money going.
Well, yeah, you're okay with it. And here's the thing. Those same organizations that they're looking into fund their campaigns.
That's right.
So if they sit on the committee and they learn that money is coming from nefarious places, that
they might have to give money back.
Yeah, they may have to give money back, or they may have to be, on the record suggesting that they knew about it. Exactly. That makes them an accomplice to it. It's a real tale of two parties on how we're approaching the existential threat to the state of Israel right now. And it's been said before, and it bears repeating. If you want to judge somebody, either a person or a group or a nation state, judge them by their relationship with the state of Israel, because that usually tells you exactly morally where they stand. It tells you where Kamala Harris stands and, sadly, her party. Meanwhile, on the other side of that same coin, Donald Trump has extended an invitation to Benjamin Netanyahu to visit him at Mar-a-Lago, and Netanyahu has accepted. On Truth Social, Donald Trump said, quote, "Looking forward to welcoming Bibi Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida tomorrow. During my first term, we had peace and stability in the region, even signing the historic Abraham Accords, and we will have it again. Just as I've said in discussions with President Zelensky and other world leaders in recent weeks, my peace through strength agenda will demonstrate to the world that these horrible, deadly wars and violent conflicts must end. Millions are dying, and Kamala Harris is in no way capable of stopping it." I'd add to that, Kamala Harris is not even trying.
No.
She's more than happy to collect her donations and ignore the state of Israel.
And it's going to get worse. She's going to look for the support of the squad. She needs Michigan. She needs all of those swing states. And she's going to stay either silent or continue to be critical of Bibi and his campaign against Hamas. So
yeah, Congressman Mike Lawler yesterday set up a video address while the pro-Hamas protesters were over his shoulder downstairs at the floor of the rotunda of the Cannon building. He was upstairs where many of the media people assemble. Here's what he said.
We're here in the Cannon House office building as the pro-Hamas agitators are here protesting Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to the United States and his address to a joint session of Congress. Sadly, most of these people don't seem to realize that if they were in fact over in Gaza, they would be killed by Hamas because they in fact hate these people. Hamas is a terrorist organization that continues to use its own people as human shields and continues to hold innocent Israelis and Americans hostage. Today, 8 Americans still remain hostage. So the fastest way for a ceasefire to occur and for there to be peace would be for Hamas to surrender and release the hostages. Sadly, you'll never hear these people call for that.
That's right.
And what's so tragic is that these people, the people that are in Gaza, many of them are victims of Hamas. They would benefit from the from the eradication of Hamas. And so these people they're chanting essentially to keep in power Hamas, who is torturing the people of Gaza.
Yeah, and have terrorized the people of Gaza and will continue to have a stranglehold on them. But you know what? Here's the thing. We're talking logically. We're talking facts. We're talking, reasonable conclusions that you can reach. But when you're an anti-Semite, and what powers you and mobilizes you and inspires you is just your blind hatred of Jews.
None of this matters.
That's it. None of the rest matters. You hate Jews, so you got to be on the side who's killing and raping Jews. That's how it goes. It's 7:23.
Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:37 here on this Thursday morning, the 24th day of July. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company to get your day started the right way every day. And we do appreciate your loyalty and letting us be a part of your morning routine. Hopefully today isn't going to be there's nothing routine about what we're doing these days, Julie Gunlock.
There is nothing routine.
Coming up at 8:05, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, Michael Whatley. That's Julie Gunlock. I'm Larry O'Connor, and joining us right now is the editor of Thrifty Travel, Kyle Potter, to discuss these nightmares right now that we're seeing at the airport. Kyle, thanks for carving up some time for us. I know this is a busy time for you right now.
Yeah, no, always happy to talk travel. Just wish that the news was a little bit more positive this week.
I'll say. Now, first of all, is it just Delta now that is continuing to feel the ramifications of this crazy CrowdStrike problem?
You know, it really is. Most of the major airlines in the country and many around the world, really went down on Friday morning when that CrowdStrike software outage happened. And what we've seen in the days since is that Delta just has not been able to get back on its feet. So even though, most of the other airlines in the country have been flying smoothly, Delta canceled more flights between Friday and Tuesday than it did in the entirety of 2018 and 2019 combined.
Wow.
That's awful.
Astounding. And is there any explanation coming from the executives there as to why Delta was so more severely impacted by this? Was it that they were late to get back up on their feet with their software fix, or is it because the way their flights are routed, they're so reliant on just one or two hubs that one little problem like this it created a catastrophe?
What happened was, that stoppage first thing Friday morning tested a lot of different airlines, and it forced them to really rework their schedules on the fly after, a ground stoppage of, 6 to 8 hours. Mm-hmm. And what we found out since is that, that stoppage and the volume of changes and cancellations that were forced through airline schedules really basically broke one of Delta's core crew scheduling software systems. So while it was really started by the CrowdStrike outage, it, snowballed into an entirely different, bigger issue for Delta that has just left it unable to catch up.
Is this, was this preventable? I don't understand. These big corporations, they have IT divisions, they have cybersecurity divisions, they have lots and lots of people looking at this. I understand that it might have been started by CrowdStrike, but it seems to have led to this sort of domino effect. Have you read anything saying that, this was sort of a catastrophic failure from like inside the corporation, or was this unavoidable?
Delta will tell you that this is a CrowdStrike problem. That is what they have been saying from the outset. That's what they're still saying today. It's clearly not. This is a Delta problem now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And look, hindsight is 2020. Nobody could have told you, or very few people in positions of power could have told you, Delta had a very vulnerable piece of crew scheduling software that needed to be updated as soon as possible, a week ago. There are going to be some huge lessons from this, though. And one of them is going to be, at least for Delta, how do we make sure that this doesn't happen again? And, I think other airlines need to look at what has happened to Delta this week, because, the last few years have shown us that this isn't just a singular airline problem. This has happened with Southwest a couple of years ago. This has happened with most major airlines in the country. So everybody needs to take a hard look at and kind of do an autopsy of what's happened to Delta these past 5 or 6 days.
Those IT departments you're talking about, Julie, their main job is to lock you out of your password and log on every 3 months and make you come up with some new password on the fly. Let's take this from the traveler's perspective and how people have been coping with this, because they're still stuck. People are still stuck and they're not able to return home or get to their destination. What remedy do they have? Are they able to go to other airlines? What kind of accommodations has Delta made for them?
That's a huge question right now. The good news is that at least as of this morning, things are looking a lot better for Delta. So, as we're talking, they've only canceled about 50 flights, give or take. That's not a great day, but that's a lot better than the 500 or so that we were seeing this time yesterday.
Dang.
So, things are looking much better for Delta passengers getting where they need to go today and tomorrow. Now it's really about Delta making it right with, refunding the trips that were canceled as a result of all of these disruptions. And I would hope Delta will come out and say. They haven't done so yet. But for those passengers who did book a last-minute ticket on another carrier, Delta needs to come out and give some clear guidance about exactly what they will and will not cover, and we just haven't seen that quite yet.
Wow.
Kyle Potter's our guest, thrifty traveler, and we were speaking earlier about this problem, and you know, from our perspective, what is the consumer supposed to do? How are they supposed to know? You assume that your Americans, your Uniteds, your Deltas, your Southwests, they're such large established carriers that they've got these I's dotted and their T's crossed, but clearly not. Is there one airline that has really sort of weathered through this one and other problems that sort of rise to the top as sort of having their stuff together better?
You know, I think the last few years have really shown us, like I said before, that it's really only a matter of time before the next meltdown, mass disruption affects another carrier. Airlines are just incredibly complex organizations, and it's honestly a miracle every time one single plane takes off and lands on time.
Yeah,
and when you
we take it for granted. Yeah,
the thousands of flights.
Yeah,
it's incredible that this doesn't happen more often.
Well, that's what we saw with Southwest a couple of years ago, right? That, you know, they just had a couple of snafus at a couple of airports, but because so many of those flights are interconnected, that's all it took.
Exactly. You know, it takes one piece of software going down, or one labor dispute, or one crew base, you know, calling out sick. I mean, it can take the smallest of things to cause a chain reaction that leads the entire network to really fall apart. So, you know, is that a lesson here? I don't know. I think Americans probably do like the fact that they can fly for relatively cheap right now, and, you know, from many major cities can basically pick their minute of when they want to depart and fly somewhere.
Yeah.
So there would be a cost at kind of unwinding all of this, and I'm not sure that that's the real solution here.
The thrifty traveler, he's Kyle Potter.
WMAL, making sense of the vote, because elections have consequences. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
It's 7:48 now on O'Connor and Company. Thank you for being part of our morning routine here. Donald Trump, I don't know if you know about this, but before he decided to get into politics, he had a real estate thing going on.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Like buildings, tenants.
Someone weirdly said he was into TV, too.
And hotels.
TV
Yeah,
show.
there was. Yeah.
I don't know.
But it was really, the fame and fortune came with buildings and hotels in particular. And,
Sure.
of course, you know that he bought the Trump Hotel. Well, he created the Trump Hotel here in Washington, D.C. out of the old abandoned U.S. Post Office.
Yes.
That building had not been used as a post office for decades. They tried to make it into like a shopping
food
mall
court.
food court thing,
Yes.
and it was a disaster. It was like dangerous to go in there and gross and ugly.
It was weird, yeah.
They bought it for a song. Here, let me tell you, Jean Lefebvre, a reporter, has sort of broken this down, what's going on right now. He secured the rights to the D.C. post office in 2013, before they had any intentions of running for politics, right? And they got it for free. That's how desperate the city of D.C. was. Take this thing off our hands, but it's out of your pocket to renovate it, right?
Yeah.
Great real estate deal. And this is on Pennsylvania Avenue, right? So they renovated it, and then they had a profit-sharing agreement with the city. Brilliant, right?
Smart,
And
yep.
It must have been Marion Barry was the governor at the time. Or excuse me, the mayor at the time?
I don't
No,
think so.
2013 would have been Fenty, right?
Oh, okay.
I think it was Mayor Fenty. All right. So they spent, no, it was Vince, sorry, I'm digressing. All right. So they spent $200 million on that renovation out of pocket, and it was pristine. I mean,
it really was beautiful.
Who didn't love going to that place?
Well, Democrats.
They financed it with a $170 million loan from Deutsche Bank. That's, by the way, the same bank that Judge Engeron said he had defrauded. Right. But of course, well, then
there's so many tangents we could go down.
In 2022, 9 years later, they sold it for $375 million. So that's a $100 million profit they made on the sale. And again, I just want to reiterate what a wonderful atmosphere it was all during the Trump presidency. It was like a private little club.
It was. There was actually.
And it was ridiculously overpriced.
And there was a Twitter account called like Trump Hotel Watch, and they would take pictures of people. It was always like Trump officials.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you're in that lobby at the bar or at David Burke's BLT Prime, there was always someone. It was a party. But then he sold it.
Yes.
Waldorf Astoria came in, took the Trump name off of it. Now it's the D.C. Waldorf Astoria, right? Have you been there since?
No.
I was there once. It was fine. The new owners that named it the Waldorf Astoria, CGI, they just defaulted on their loan.
Wow.
The property is now facing foreclosure.
Ugh.
It's going to be auctioned off next month. It's a complete disaster.
It's going to be a hojo.
Well, the question is, can Eric Trump sweep in and gobble it up again? Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be incredible.
So this is, I mean, you know what they should have done? They should have named it the Biden Hotel. That would have been the perfect allegory here. The perfect metaphor.
Yes.
Trump buys it, makes a great deal, and a great deal for D.C., by the way, too. D.C., the District of Columbia, made a ton of money on this deal because of the profit share. Refurbished it perfectly and pristinely, did an incredible job in restoring the historic nature of the building and at the same time converting it to a hotel. Not an easy task. Made a ton of money on the sale, $100 million like that in 9 years. Not bad. And now the new people buy it. It becomes the Biden, and it's a complete and total disaster. And now here comes Trump again. Maybe he'll sweep in.
Kind of tells you, it's sort of like what's gone on in the country for the last 4 years.
Yeah. The problem is that currently it's technically not a sale. The D.C. still owns it. This was a lease rights agreement, and there's no way the District of Columbia would let the Trump organization because they're hateful discriminators.
That's right.
If they really want to do what's best for the city.
And again, they let him do this deal before he had political
That's
aspirations.
right. Oh, there was nothing wrong. Are you kidding? They were thrilled to do it.
Yeah.